Hey, I'm Ryan, this is my brother Daniel, and this is Rolls in the Family, and today we are talking about games that we have not played. We usually talk about games that we have played. This is a different type of video. I never tell Dago I'm going to open these videos. Apparently that one caught him off guard.
That was good.
And, we thought it would be fun to talk about what are the games that we are most excited to try.
Yeah.
What are the ones we have our eye on? We're big proponents of playing the games we have and the games we love and having that be the focus of our engagement with the hobby. But there's a lot of good games that come out and, keeping an eye on it and figuring out what might be the next nice ones to add to the collection. So we will include links to all these below. If our, somewhat uneducated presentation of these games is very persuasive, maybe you'll want to check it out for yourself.
If you thought I didn't know what I was talking about before, just wait till this video.
Yeah, Daniel usually with games he's played struggles, so this could be an interesting video. Yeah. Well, and admittedly, I tend to be, out of the two of us, the one that does a little bit more research of games, kind of awareness. A lot of games, new games you hear about is honestly probably from me more than your own research. But, Daniel he came up with a list of 10. We'll see what it is.
There's 10 games here, and I'm excited about them all. So,
definitely leave in the comments below what games are at the top of your wish list. What are you the most excited to try? Some of these could even be games that like one of us has, but the other one hasn't tried yet. So really just anything we haven't played. Right. But let's jump into it, Daniel, and start with your number 10 here.
Okay, number 10. This one's interesting. It's one that I don't think I'm going to own it ever, but I really want to play it. And I think that qualifies in this list. It's my list. I can do whatever I want. And this is going to go to Hegemony. So this was one that I, as probably most of these with this list, Ryan mentioned to me. And man, it just fascinates me. I don't know. I feel like asymmetrical games always really fascinate me. But sometimes owning them can be hard just with sometimes they're more challenging to kind of get to the table. But I think one thing that really caught my attention about this game is, I think about one of the things that we really love with a game like Twilight Struggle is like the integration of kind of mechanics with theme. And it feels like this game really does that, where you've got everyone's kind of playing a different part of this kind of, political, Yeah, you got the middle class and you got the state and you got like the capitalists all. And so just in my mind, like thinking about the dynamics of very different parts, but them all interacting with one another in fascinating ways, is one that's kind of why that one popped onto my list. Nice. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to, we'll see. It's one of those that's like, man, it's so cool, but I got who am I going to play it with? And it feels like a game that you really got to teach, play again, maybe even kind of like a route, where it's, you can't just, maybe your first play is kind of like learning what the heck's going on. And then
I've heard even after your first play, people might be like, I just want to play the role I played again because I feel like I kind of knowing, but it kind of suffers, it's similar with my experiences with Root where so much of the strategy in the game relies on you understanding other people's factions. And when it's so asymmetric and you haven't ever played that role, it makes it really hard. And yeah, I agree. This one did not make my list, but it's a definitely one that I agree. It would be really interesting to try. Yeah. It kind of fell off my list of ones that I thought I might actually own, partly probably because of my experiences with Root and ending up getting rid of it. I was like, well, there's no way Hegemony is gonna
it's
not feasible right now. Maybe when the kids are way older, we'll have a little educational.
Well, I was gonna say, I know
it's good.
Great homeschooling game.
Learned way more than I did in any.
Introducing
government class,
third grade.
Nice, good, nice, heavy, complex pick. To start off
starting off with.
So my number 10 is much more accessible. One I definitely anticipate owning at some point. I think both of us have had an interest in trying this one. 2 2-player cooperative game, dice game about trying to land planes. This is Sky Team. And this one's gotten a lot of buzz, and kind of fits into this category of cooperative games that have some kind of limited communication. So the only way you're able to really communicate is through the actions you're taking. And so your partner is kind of thinking, okay, they did this. What does that tell me about, because I think you have kind of hidden dice that you're working with. And what does that tell me about what they're working with and what they want me to do? What are they trying to tell me through that action? But in a quick package, a package that I think has a lot of variability, with kind of different conditions. I don't know if there's like airports and things. I know they just either announced or released an expansion to it that just adds like more variable options to play with.
That's sweet.
So yeah, I could see this one being really fun. I know it's on Board Game Arena though. We struggle with this. I've always like, do I want that to be my first experience? Your first
impression of it.
And, so maybe we'll try it there sometime. Maybe we'll maybe we'll just wait until one of us gets it. But definitely have my eye on Sky Team.
Very nice. My number 9 is one that I know you are interested in because Ryan shares his. This is the time of the year where Ryan's birthday and Christmas both align at the same time, so we get the big
collection often gets a little boost.
We get the master list of games Ryan is interested in, and I want to say this is actually the most expensive one.
So it's what you're getting
on your list. So yes,
this is a spoiler.
Actually, yeah. But one that I am so fascinated to try because at first when I heard of it, I'm like, this is a horrible idea. Just horrible. And then the reviews were great. And so it
glowing, really. I know what game you're talking about.
yeah. So this is going to go to Slay the Spire.
The board game.
The board game, yes. So Ryan and I both love the video game. I mean, Ryan even more than me has played it a ton, and it's just an absolute blast. Takes so much of what we love in like board game mechanics and does it in a video game just so well. And so the reason I thought it was such a horrible idea is I'm like, so you're going to take all the things that the app streamlines and now you have to do it, And so I was like, man, like that just does not, like, when would I ever choose to play the board game, versus the app? But then it came out and like the reviews were so great and it seemed like, at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it wasn't like they were just like trying to make it the exact same thing, but that they added some, changes and twists. And the biggest one, honestly, and this is, I think, the reason maybe it, interests us the most, is that you can play cooperative with people. I mean, the fact that like this is just purely a solo game when you play, in the video game, but man, we love our cooperative games, Ryan.
We do.
And so, that addition alone, you take a video game that we love, and now suddenly it's made in a way that we can enjoy this, experience it in a way with someone else. Yeah. That's intriguing. So
yeah, I'm kind of similar in that, like, my expectation, I was very kind of cautious, hesitant about like, okay, is this really going to be? And you see a lot of this is actually becoming more common, that some of these video games or indie games are getting board game implementations. But I think it speaks to the strength of that design team. I mean, obviously that design team's so good on Slay the Spire. They must have played a lot of modern board games. Like, it just feels like they have a good feel for the modern board game landscape. Yeah. They aren't just like coming in and trying to make, something based on the video game.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very intrigued by that one. Nice, Daniel. My number 9 is one we actually both currently have on crowdfunding, who knows when it'll come order.
There's a lot of games that fall under that category, right?
No, the list
actually
is
not
dwindling
for both of us,
because they've started to deliver, and I've really stopped backing. I haven't backed something in a long time. So it's the end of an era. But this is actually the last one. Like, when this one delivers, it might be the last one of ones that I have active. One that I have played the original once with you. This is a game you really enjoy and own, and are hoping that this new version could maybe be the definitive version for our taste. This is Nemesis Retaliation. And the original Nemesis, great, big, epic, thematic experience of just basically Alien, the board game, of you're on the ship, and Nemesis Retaliation kind of takes it in a different direction with you're like landing on a like planet and going into a base, and you're a little bit more like prepared. It's a less of like the horror of just like, oh my gosh, there's an alien on our ship, and more of like we need to go and like clear it out. And one of the things that speaks to us, I know, about the potential of this edition is the modular map. The fact that every time the map unfolds differently and there's kind of this exploration element, definitely is something we like the idea of. I also think Awaken Realms, I think, because I always mix up Awaken Realms, and there's another publisher that sounds very similar. But they've kind of proven that the original Nemesis was great. Yeah. Then they did Nemesis Lockdown, which was also very well received. You get the vibe that they just have a strong grasp on this system and how to kind of like push it well. So I'm like optimistic that it's gonna be good. It's just a matter of like, is it gonna be the version we want to play, definitively? Yeah. I don't have a version of Nemesis, so I'm really hoping like this will be the one I hold on to.
Yeah. Did I already sell original Nemesis?
I don't know. Did you? Is it behind you?
I think I did.
Wow, Dan, that was bold.
I think
I told you that was bold too. I was like, man.
You know what? I'm a bold guy, Ryan. I'm a man of conviction.
Yeah, man of conviction before having any evidence to support that conviction.
It's a good combo.
Yep. There you go. So, definitely excited to try that one. It's going to be one of those ones that's hard to get to the table consistently. It's a big, epic game, though I know there's people in my gaming group that are
would love that.
This is the game that they'll love. So, hopefully.
Very nice. Moving to my number 8, a game already mentioned. Ryan said we were both interested in this one. I really think my wife and I might really like this one. You
honestly have the better setup to get this one
which is interesting, because my wife typically does not like cooperative games. But I don't know. This one I feel like there's hope, and this is Sky Team. It was actually funny. I was talking to a buddy at work this last week who was playing this with his wife on Board Game Arena. And so he was talking about a little bit, how like they were getting all the way to the end, about to land the plane, but the plane was like, at a -1 in terms of like being level. Yeah. And so, they just need to level it. Well, I guess there was a misunderstanding of how to level it and whatnot. And so, the plane just right at the end. I
like how this game is just going to skew everybody's like perception of like plane safety. Like, man, there's just a higher probability we are not going to be able to land this plane.
Yeah, I know. It's going to create a lot of distrust in going on flights. But I don't know. I think the theme is fantastic. Like, it's a very intriguing, kind of fun cooperative theme that I don't think has really been done before. Like, I'm Ryan. I was always a big flight simulator guy on the X.
Oh, did you play Flight Simulator?
I did play some.
I thought you were talking back to way in our childhood. Remember on the old Macintosh?
Oh my gosh, I do remember that.
Yeah, that flight.
That was fun.
That thing had.
Didn't we have the little?
We had a little joystick.
Joystick that you pull back.
Yeah,
man,
that
was
I
realistic.
barely figured out how to actually get off. It was usually just like off the runway crash.
It was a crash immediately. Yeah, I don't think Sky Team is quite that hard. So. But I'm really intrigued. It's probably, I think, on my list, the kind of smallest. I'm a bias for big games, which is kind of bad because they don't get to the table as much.
And they're more expensive. They take up more space.
And they take up more space.
Yeah.
But
I have a feeling your wife might like this one, because I feel like her primary complaint with a lot of cooperative games is when it's a little bit more everybody's working together and certain people can maybe dominate the discussion more, and she's maybe not feeling like she's getting as many of her own decisions. Right. Or in Sky Team, you own all your own decisions.
Totally.
Because does she like the crew?
She does like the crew.
Okay, because that's a similar category.
Okay.
So who knows?
I'm feeling optimistic.
My number 8. My number 8 is the fourth entry in a series of games that somehow I haven't actually tried. I've gotten close to opportunities of playing it with somebody that had it, but it's a very popular game, but never quite got over that, like, me thinking, yeah, I think this might be one I want to own. But the Clank series has finally now released Clank Catacombs, and it might be the one that gets me to go in on this system and see if it's one I'd like to hold on to. And surprise, surprise, the driving factor interesting in this particular edition of Clank is the fact that it is a variable map.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is like literally just Nemesis retaliation.
We're simple folks.
We
here
are so simple to please, man.
People have got us pinned down, but it's true. Like, honestly, I think that was one of my hesitations with Clank, especially because it's a game that everybody's going in and trying to get a treasure and get out, and you can kind of push your luck and go further. But that map was always the same, and that always just gave me this feeling of like, am I personally going to want to play this game 20, 30 plus times?
Yeah.
And from what I've heard of Clank Catacombs, it feels like it could really capture that, like, just wanting to play it again because every session, what's going to happen, it's going to be different. And honestly, the core system of deck building, we love deck building. It's by the same designer that did Dune Imperium, which I'm a big fan of. And it's a little lighter. It kind of fits more in a part of my collection that I maybe don't have as many. It's kind of this like medium weight or kind of like entry level plus games that it's often hard to find ones that I really like to hold on to. So this is, of games in that demographic, I think this is like my top one that I'm interested in.
It didn't make my list, but I played Clank in Space, and I walked away and was like it's a good game. But I would agree with you that kind of it was kind of like, okay, it's the same map every time, you know. And this, I mean, that shift is just, it's huge.
There's trade-offs, right? Like, you're gonna get potentially times that it's not as balanced. Somebody gets screwed by how the things come up. But hey,
I think we're okay with that.
I think we're okay with that trade-off.
we tend to be cool with that. So
yeah,
very nice. Jumping over to my number 7. I'm gonna guess this is not on Ryan's list. This flows out of maybe my, I love cooperative campaign games. Like, that just, give me a cooperative campaign game, there's a good chance I'll love it.
It's a hard thing to love because it's hard to play a lot of.
Yeah, I know, it really is. So, but this one, I think it's kind of expensive, especially if you get miniatures versus standees, which, that's always the hard choice. It's like, it's so much cheaper with standees, but the miniatures are cool, and the miniatures are cool in this one. This is Oathsworn. So this one, I've had some incredible memories with, games like Gloomhaven and whatnot, and I think this one kind of gets into kind of that, scratches maybe a little bit of that same itch. One of the things I really like is kind of the two very different parts of the game. Like, you have the kind of very narrative driven part where you're making all these decisions kind of with the story, but then it always is then got this big boss fight and whatnot. The combat system, I remember, it's been a little while since I've looked into it closely, but I remember thinking that looked really cool.
It's definitely got kind of a card management thing that, different than Gloomhaven. I remember it was like, this is the type of thing that people that like the card management in Gloomhaven are probably going to like.
Yeah, so this one's interesting. It's again, it's like on my radar where, like, maybe, what I could see is like, maybe if my Imperial Assault group is like, hey, maybe we're wanting to like try a campaign but something else, this potentially could be an option that would be really fun. I know I see it popping up on Facebook Marketplace every once in a while, and I'm always like, ooh,
it's only $500 instead of $800.
What a steal.
Yeah.
Oh man. So that one looks really sweet, and so we'll see if I ever get to try it. But my number 7 is Oathsworn.
Very nice. Yeah, it feels for me that the only way that those types of games get back onto my wish list is like someday when my boys are older.
My boys,
I've got a 2 and 4-year-old boys, and I'm working on them. They're in the intensive training program.
Ryan, that is the dream, isn't it?
Yeah,
like playing a game like that with the kiddos.
Yeah, because I mean, they live with you. It's easy to schedule
it's
the
so
next.
Easy. You can force it.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, you can make it mandatory. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm actually thinking maybe this next year we get Toby on the channel to do his top games of all time.
There you go. Let us know down in the comments if you want to hear.
A 5-year-old that's probably played more games than almost any 5-year-old on the planet talk about his favorite games. He's 4 right now. He would be 5 at the time.
Okay, there we go.
Let's move on. My number 7 does not quite have the thematic punch of a game like Oathsworn. This feels like one of those ones that's almost the poster child for dry Euro games. I will say it is a game that got a new big box reprint and did big box right, because there's too many publishers that hear big, but we got to make a big box edition, and they start with the box needs to be big. It's like, that's not the way to go. Figure out what content you want to put in the game, appropriately size the box. I'm looking at you, Mage Knight Ultimate Edition, but
oh my gosh,
Hansa Teutonica. The new big box edition comes in a nice slim. You wouldn't even think it's silly that they call it a big box, because it's not even that big, but this is a game that I remember way back when the original came out, and that you think this edition isn't a looker. That one, classic like early 2000s, 2010s Euro game of like, let's just put like a guy from the 1700s like sitting there like looking at the viewer.
But Ryan, is it Carpe Diem level looker?
It's not quite Carpe Diem, but but this is one that has kind of proven to stand the test of time. The fact that it got the big reprint and got a lot of buzz around it, and a lot of these, content creators or other reviewers that are doing it that maybe weren't even in the hobby back then, really praising it. And the more I've heard, the more I'm like, okay, this could be a really interesting high interaction Euro game. I think of games like Yell Yangtze or Tigris and Euphrates is kind of the more popular edition of that. That kind of gives me that feel in my collection of, like, you're on this shared map, you're doing things that really affect each other. It's just highly interactive. This is very much that way. And then it also has kind of some of this engine building things of you're kind of like increasing your abilities and stuff. And it just sounds really unique. I actually have a friend that has the new big box edition, which is always the hard thing I fall into, is I fall into the situation where I like want to get it, or it's like at the top of my wish list, but I go, oh, my friend has it, like I should try it with them before, but then inevitably like a year later and I still haven't tried it with them, and I was like, I either gotta like make that happen or just be
put
like,
the pressure on him, right?
I had him bring it one time, but we ended up playing other games that day. It didn't get chosen in the end, but definitely interested in playing Hansa Teutonica. I don't know, I need more dry but highly interactive Euro games.
Speaking of highly interactive, this game is highly interactive.
Good segue.
Then this is one that actually, Ryan, you are going to, is another one of your on the way games. On the way games that, again, I don't think I'm going to ever own, but man, do I want to play it.
Which is the same thing I said about it.
And this is Food Chain Magnate. This one interested us even before the new.
Honestly,
new thing.
There were times a decade ago where we were pretty close to pulling the trigger on this.
I know, and it was always like, oh, this looks so cool, but it's also like just like it's hard to get to the table. It can also be kind of brutal, like there's elements of it, and I don't know if any of that's changed necessarily. But I think
a lot of that is still true. Yeah, about
it's probably all still true. But I think for us, we're kind of at the stage, I feel like in board gaming where we're looking for those experiences that are very different from anything that we've experienced before, and I think this, in terms of just economic interaction, is there's really no game like it. I think thematically it's super cool. Just this whole, restaurant chains, building your org chart, all this, all that sort of stuff. Like just thematically, I feel like is really cool. The interaction between, the way what someone else is doing is like directly affecting you, sometimes very negatively. Like I'm sure, man, it feels like a game that I feel like you have to be first, not, certain games can cause people to get maybe more upset than others. This one, you just got to be like, this is how the game is. There's going to be moments where you, everything flips and you're.
And I've heard, and actually I remembered because back, this is one that Tom Vass on the Dice Tower really didn't review positively. He had a really kind of poor experience with it, and one of his big things was like, he got absolutely decimated. It was like 1,000 to like 40 or something. But the thing I've read more when I was researching it is like you can't really look at that score discrepancy because it's very much a game of like somebody's gonna pull away and win, and it's less about like the score isn't a measure of how close it was necessarily. It's just like
the win was in the moment that the person was able to flip it or something like that.
It made it happen,
make the shift.
But I agree. It's such a unique game, right? And that's what's kept it on my radar for so long. That paired with the fact that a lot of people that like games that I love this game, and so I've always been like, I have to try it eventually. And, it's on the way now because I was like, well, either I love it and keep it, or I am glad I tried it and sell it. So.
Like literally on the way?
No. This one's still a little bit. It's probably the second to last.
Okay.
There's only a few left, but
only a few left. Very nice. That's my number 6.
Nice. My number 6 actually is probably the first example because I was kind of, backing a lot of these crowdfunding campaigns that were like reprints of games that I knew I wanted to get. And it was like, oh, it's coming back to Kickstarter, come back to GameFound. I'll back it this time. This was the first one that I was like thinking I was going to do it with, but I was starting to just get a little disillusioned with like, man, I just don't really love going through crowdfunding to get these games, and I actually showed restraint on this campaign and did not back anything, even though I fully still intend.
I'm so proud.
I fully still intend to buy this game at some point, though perhaps not the hyper deluxe edition. I think I'd be happy getting the standard edition. There's a couple key expansions I think I would want, but this is Thunder Road Vendetta. Which is by Restoration Games. It's a remaking of an older game. And this is just, if there's like something that fits in the beer and pretzels, Ameritrash labels.
I'm not much of a beer fan.
Yeah. Water bottles with drink mix. And
I was going to say, that's what usually it is for us.
It's Thunder Road Vendetta. This is a game of it's kind of like kind of a Mad Max theme of like this post-apocalyptic, these cars with guns and stuff, and you're just going through the desert on this race and ramming into each other and shooting each other. And it's like there's so much randomness in this game. It's, every time you bump into a car, you like roll dice to resolve like how it's going to bump things, and it can cause chain reactions. And you have like 3 cars, and if your car gets like bumped off the side or bumped into a hazard, it just like explodes and is gone. And it's actually guaranteed that somebody is going to get fully eliminated, because it's once somebody's eliminated, then it's the last piece of track, and then it's whoever finishes. And so you have to go into it knowing all this. But everything I've heard about it is just like, man, if you know what you're in for, it is just a blast of an experience and funny and just like really. And I like the variability of different track that comes out, and some of the expansion stuff adds some other like modules and things. I actually think this is one that my son probably wouldn't be far from being able to play, because there's not like a lot of complexity in the mechanisms.
You're talking about Theo, right?
Yes, of course. My 2-year-old. We'll get them both going on it. But, I could see it being very fun, like the theme and just like the funny things that are happening.
Yeah.
So I could see this one fitting a nice kind of thing in my collection that I don't necessarily have, of just this theme in your face experience. That I sometimes, you might have a group that's like, this is the game that's going to go over really well. So definitely high on my list.
It's funny. I feel like when I hear beer and pretzels, I have a negative reaction to it because I don't know. To me, it sometimes feels like, okay, very low decision, like, interesting decisions, and it's just a lot of luck. But I feel like the key is around that, just almost like how much can it make you just like laugh as a group together / kind of those just exciting moments. I think about, this isn't really a beer and pretzels game, but like a Mechs versus Minions, and like how even when you're like getting damage and stuff, you're just like, it's just like a game that like causes, so much laughter. I feel like that's kind of because I had, like an Arcadia Quest, which is kind of a similar thing, but I felt like it didn't quite get me laughing as much as I thought it would, and then the decision making was maybe a little low. So
and sometimes it doesn't even have to be laughing, but if it has like the tension that can come from like push your luck and just like exciting moments and possibilities that can really make up for maybe the decision space maybe feeling less strategic. Like there's still the decision space maybe shifts a little bit more to like, ooh, this would be really risky, but I'm gonna go for it to do it.
Very nice. Okay, Ryan, moving to my number 5. We both like, I don't know, do you call them rolling rights, flipping rights? There's all sorts of rights, stuff
we've had
like
some
that.
Good experiences with these types of games.
And whatnot. Just recently got Cartographers, and have been enjoying that. This one's interesting because it's probably one of the more heavy, maybe complex of the flip and rights. And this is going to go to Hadrian's Wall.
Wow, this is higher than I would have expected for you.
Yeah, well, so looking into it, I mean, I really like the whole just flip and right concept. It's a really, really fun one for me. We had a great time with, Cartographers recently. And the thought of taking that and having it be a more kind of complex experience, and I'm just going to be, up front, like mechanically, I don't know a ton about how it works.
You just know if you look at that sheet for Hadrian, you got like 2 sheets. That are
I just had to see that dense sheet, and I knew it was for me.
Yeah.
No, it was a while back that I watched some videos about it, but that's, I mean, again, you talk about experiences that we don't have, and that's one where it's like, oh, a heavier flip and right, and I remember just the mechanics seemed really interesting and whatnot. I'll be honest, that's pretty much all I got for that one. But
I think your wife would probably like it.
Yeah, I remember thinking that as well, which that's always a nice bonus.
Helps you get to the table.
It does. What do you know what the player count of that one is?
I think it's 1 to 6, I believe.
1 to 6? Okay. Yeah. Suppose it was on the screen that I edited in the future, so thank you, future Daniel.
Our viewers are ahead of us on that.
I know.
They can fact check my
There you go.
claims.
So that one's, kind of one of the heavier ones, but one that definitely has piqued my interest.
Nice. My number 5 has already been mentioned. Daniel mentioned that I indeed have this on the way. This has been one I've wanted to try for a decade now. I think it came out in like 2014 or something. This is Food Chain Magnate. And this is one that, man, I am buying it feeling like this is probably a 50-50 whether this stays in the collection, which is usually lower odds than I would normally want to make a purchase. Low. But it's just such a unique game that I have made the decision that I have to try it. So it's like,
I mean, you don't have
either I've made the decision, Daniel.
Okay.
that this game, I owe it to myself to at least try it. Yes. And so that either means I need to play it with someone else that has it, or I need to get it with the, chance that I'm going to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've seen, I do think that there is a good enough chance that, because there is this world where I really love it.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's so unique, I'm willing to hold on to games in my collection that are hard to get to the table if they're really unique, and I love them.
Millennium Blades.
Millennium Blades is a good example. And there may be seasons in the future where it becomes more feasible, like once I'm forcing my kids to play it at age 7.
Yes.
But Food Chain Magnate, I just am really excited to try it. I'm hoping I can introduce it to groups in the right way to really set it up to go well. Because that's the biggest thing is you don't want to do it in a way that somebody's going to have a really poor experience. But if you can get a few people that have played it and played a couple times, with these types of games, I don't need lots of people in my life that'll play it with me. But if I have the possibility to get that group together and play it. So we will see that it's the new crowdfunded deluxe edition, which they're revamping a lot of the artwork and stuff. So it just does look nicer. And there was a bit of me that was like, you know what? If I love it, this is probably the edition I would want to have. I didn't have that many qualms. I don't hate on the old edition quite as, people look at the screenshots and it looks like a prototype, and I get it. But I'm not extremely bothered by that if it's a really, really solid game. But at this point, the new deluxe edition, honestly, because I'm not getting it with all the miniatures and stuff. I don't need a giant box and dealing with all these minis. But it isn't that much more than I think getting the older edition, because these Splotter games are always pretty expensive with kind of their low print runs. And so we'll see. It's going to be coming. We'll see how long it is until I can get it to the table once it's here, because it's not an easy one. But hopefully, maybe within a year on the channel, I'm able to speak to my experiences.
Oh, can't wait.
Food Chain Magnate. Yep.
Can't wait.
Book your calendars.
Speaking of games that Ryan will not be owning, this is a game that, like Oathsworn, I mentioned I love cooperative campaigns. And we both played Gloomhaven. Both very much enjoyed Gloomhaven.
Not together. No.
Not together. We wouldn't do that. Ryan, actually, Gloomhaven was really high for you. I know it dropped kind of in the later.
It shone bright. It shot up to within my top 10, and it dropped, and then I was kind of done with it. Good time.
So I think, as in retrospect, I probably like Gloomhaven. I definitely like Gloomhaven more than you currently. It's one of my favorite cooperative games I've played, and just had a wonderful time. And thus, this one has just always piqued my interest, and this is Frosthaven.
Yeah.
It's okay, I love the Gloomhaven system of the card. That's just so fun for me. It's so fun, the whole managing of the cards, of them being your life, and all of that, figuring out when do you sacrifice a card, and stuff like that. Working with each other, of going fast and slow, but I love it all. It was such a great system. But then looking into Frosthaven, it's like they took it all and they just improved on a lot of things. One of the things that I think is really cool is around the whole, you've got kind of this camp now that you're actually, the whole map interaction, I think is a lot more interesting than it was in
you actually are building up things,
you're building things and stuff like that, which looks really cool. And so I think they made a lot of improvements, but there's also just part of me, it's I just want to play more. I loved Gloomhaven. It sounds like this is even better. This is the other option, if you talk about the group that's hey, we're done with Imperial Assault, we want to play a campaign, this is definitely another option. It's a big commitment.
It's so hard, because it's an 80 game campaign or whatever, and it's there's a point for me where that starts to not be a selling point. It's man, there's just no way.
And I get that. I do think one thing I really like about the way the game goes is, since there's constantly fresh things, you're retiring a character and you're getting a new, that's a really nice rhythm in a, if you're playing with the same character for, an 80 game campaign, you might get a little stale, versus, I don't know, I felt at least in Gloomhaven, it constantly, your team dynamics are changing. It almost in some ways feels like you're playing mini campaigns because your team is like my
remember
team,
when we had those 3 characters?
And like our team, the way we had to play was so different than we're having to play now, and figuring like, okay, this new character is a part of our team. What are we gonna do now? What's our synergy gonna be to make it work? So yeah, I don't know if it'll happen, but I hope it does.
I hope it does. My number 4 has also been mentioned by Daniel. This is one that, much like Daniel, I was not thinking when I first heard about it that it would be one I'd be interested in, but oh, how things have changed, because Slay the Spire, the board game, is now my number 4. Most interested in trying. And it's kind of from 2 angles. One is that, like you said, we love kind of cooperative, heavier, these types of games that, you could get down with 2 players, whether it's, I've enjoyed games like Mage Knight and Too Many Bones and some of these LCGs and stuff. And it just feels like it could fit really nicely within that and kind of be offering something that you never got to do with Slay the Spire, the video game, of actually working together and cooperating and, on how you approach things. And then there's also the piece of, I do play more solo games than I used to. And it plays really well solo. Now the question is it enough that I'd be like, yeah, I'd want to play the board game solo versus just going and playing the video game? Like, is it giving me something different? Now, granted, I mean, I work as a software engineer. I'm in front of the computer all day, so there is like this bias towards wanting to sit at the table and and just the pieces like that. I definitely just enjoy the tangible element of board games. But it is interesting when it's such a clear parallel, right, between these experiences. And obviously the video game is great and like streamlines things. And so it'll be interesting to see. I think there's a very good chance at some point that I own this one. It'll be interesting to see what assuming it lands for me, which it just feels like it is going. Like, it's hard to imagine me not enjoying this game. But does it become a pretty much exclusively a 2-player, maybe 3-player cooperative thing? Do I ever pull it out solo? But yeah, to be able to get that feeling that Slay the Spire gives of such a like tight loop of upgrading and such a breadth of how your builds can end up and how games can feel, and getting to then share that with somebody where you're each doing that and complimenting, it could be amazing. And it sounds like a lot of people have been having amazing experiences with it. So
I'm kind of surprised that they wouldn't, and maybe it's just so the board game sells well, that they wouldn't go back to the video game and implement a cooperative experience.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, Daniel, but
they apparently not, because I just said.
Well, I don't know if they're doing that, but they have announced Slay the Spire 2. They're making the sequel.
That's cool. Maybe.
And then there's the part of me that's like, well, if they do that, are they going to support the board game too? Like, will they end up at some point releasing an expansion that maybe leans into things they're doing in Slay the Spire 2? It'd be cool.
That would be cool.
So we'll see.
Very nice. My number 3 is one that I don't think you've gotten yet. It might also be on the way. This one might kind of shock you how high it is. But one that I just look at and it's like, there is no way I don't love this game. Like, I really feel that way. Like, this just looks looks like mechanically it's got so many things I love. I love the literal like rotating element of it.
Daniel hears simultaneous turns and,
oh my gosh,
twitching a little bit.
So this is going to go to Planet Unknown. No, you aren't wrong, Ryan. Like, if a game has simultaneous turns, like, immediately
it is actually interesting because a lot of people that don't like simultaneous turns, it's because they're like, I want more player interaction, which is also something you really like in some of your favorite games.
I do love player interaction,
but it's like you do kind of like either of these options.
Yeah,
and there are some games with simultaneous that still have decent player interaction, but this is definitely an example of it's more about working on your own puzzle.
Yeah, I saw a funny comment recently about Earth, which has simultaneous turns, but someone just saying it just feels like you're sitting down and doing complicated work and like by yourself, or
doing your homework together.
Doing your homework by yourself, which, like, I like Earth, but it was kind of a funny. I can kind of see where they're coming from, but But yeah, no, it's like, and I don't know, the whole rotating thing is just super cool. Like the lazy Susan. So honestly, I'm very interested because I'm like, I need to try Ryan's copy, and then whether I like it or not, I'm purchasing it.
Good strategy. No, if you're staying consistent, you order it first, then.
Oh yeah. If I'm staying consistent,
yeah. Well, and one of the big things with this is it goes to 6 players, which we know that in this kind of like medium weight game, it's hard to find strategic games that go up to 6 players. So I'm really hoping this one can be.
It's true.
Can nail it.
Okay.
My number 3 is the only one I broke the rules of the list on.
Oh my gosh.
So it's the only game here.
I'm going to redact it in editing.
It's the only game here that I've technically played.
This is all cut out of the video, right?
So we technically 2-player on Tabletop Simulator over 2 sessions tried a game of Arcs. And while we finished a full game of it.
We did.
I think it in no way was very representative of, the experience that Arcs potentially can provide.
I sure hope
Partly,
not.
I think adding a 3rd player would really help a lot. Partly, having it on the table versus trying to interact through Tabletop Simulator is going to make a huge difference.
It also was late at night. What are we doing?
We also, I'm
an hour later here, Ryan. What are you
down?
Ryan's like keeping me up till midnight. I'm like asleep on the stream as we're playing.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So all that to say, I feel like I still haven't given Arcs its real, shake of whether this could be the Cole Whirly design for me, because I've always been intrigued by a lot of these designs, whether it's Root or Pax Khmer's 2nd edition, or John Company, or there's all these very fascinating designs that Cole Whirly has worked on. But it feels like Arcs might be the one that strikes the balance that I might be looking for.
Yeah.
I actually just got it in the mail. So I have my physical copy.
Ooh.
And it's a hard one because it's like, okay, I want to introduce it to a group in a way that's going to set them up for success. There's a question of like, do you use the leaders and lore in a first game or do you not, so that you can just really get the basics down before going to that? And then that's not even getting into the fact that there's the Blighted Reach expansion that does this whole other different mini campaign, just off the rails craziness on top of the core system, that like you would want people to already feel pretty comfortable with the core system before ever trying that. So there's kind of some layers of exploring what this thing is. Does it fit in my collection? Do I feel compelled? Because it's in that category, honestly, of not quite to the level of a Root or Hegemony. It is definitely easier to teach and have a successful first game, but it's still one of these ones that's going to be hard to get to the table unless it's with very specific groups. Right. And so it's going to have to really win me over as a game that I want to play over and over. But I'm cautiously optimistic because it definitely nails the unique factor out of the park of not being like other games I have. So to be determined, but I'm very much wanting to try Arcs again without Daniel.
Again, maybe that was actually I think it was a good example of the tension we face with trying games on, because I'll be honest, like it was like I am less excited about it. You are a lot
less interested than you were before.
Actually, and this is probably extreme. Actually, it was more me just having good realization. But I actually canceled my order of Arcs after playing it.
Which is probably wise.
It was more of a realization of like, okay, I have so many games I need to get to the table, and this is just going to add to another game that's going to be...
Meanwhile, I'm over here getting Arcs and Food Chain Magnate. I don't know what I'm doing to myself.
I don't know what you're doing, Ryan. I don't know. Okay, Ryan, my number 2. So I just recently got Dwellings of Eldervale, and
now you're
really enjoy it. I am not getting rid of it yet. But a game that is now being declared, well, not declared, but some people are saying is potentially a improved version of Dwellings of Eldervale is Andromeda's Edge. And Ryan, at first, I actually wasn't really interested in it. One, there was part of me that kind of actually liked the Dwellings of Eldervale theme. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm maybe not as much of a space maybe I just feel like there's a lot of games that are like spaceships, whereas I don't know, Dwellings had a little bit more of kind of a unique feel to me. But I was starting to watch some videos about just like what it does differently, and as I was watching it, I was like, oh man, like yeah, that actually does improve on things in Dwellings and whatnot. I was trying to jot down a few of the things that were kind of different between the two, but honestly, but failed. Yeah, I'm just trying to find where I put it, but I don't think I actually wrote it down.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, Dwellings of Eldervale is one that I love because just the whole, putting putting people out, but then you're also setting up this whole like taking them back and taking actions is really interesting. And when I was watching Andromeda's Edge, it just felt like one of those, a little bit, I guess, of how I feel maybe about, like Nemesis, Retaliation, of taking something that's really like, and it's like, oh, yep, that's an improvement. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I see. They've clearly like played the game, got some feedback, and they changed that.
It's usually, going to be personal preference. Like, cause whenever this happens, there's going to be people that enjoy one more than the other, but you start to see changes that you're like, ooh, I think that fits with my personal preference. It's the same thing I went through with, we went from Terra Mystica to Gaia Project, and then Age of Innovation comes out, and I was kind of having the same thing of like, do I buy this expensive game that shares 90% of the DNA with this one I have and already love? But the reality was, I had a feeling I might like it even a little more, and ultimately, I would rather have the one that I enjoy the most be the one I own. So it's always a little tricky.
I want to say one of the things that I saw that was cool was like the whole upgrading of like your factions was a lot more interesting in Andromeda's Edge versus in Dwellings, you kind of just have, you can unlock your different characters and they have just like their unique power, which is cool. Like I enjoy, and each faction was different, but it seemed like in Andromeda's Edge there was more kind of customizing, upgrading that can happen, which was pretty cool. So, and as Ryan and I always say, we love customizing, variability, stuff like that. So, this is one I imagine, like, I'm gonna need to try it at some, like if you have two games that are kind of you one or the other, and one is, some are saying a better version, I'm like, I have to try it and then sell the one that
it doesn't always, you don't always go with the new one. I guess a good example would be when I got Maracaibo. In a lot of ways, that was kind of like, ooh, this is like a new kind of version of Great Western Trail. We played it, and I went, no, I like Great Western Trail more. And
and some people might even say you can keep both. Sometimes whether they feel different. Sometimes people are like, oh yeah, they're different enough, I'll keep both. I think for us, it was like,
we'll fall into that camp with these ones that are 90% the same. But oftentimes that's what we do. Is I love this game enough, I'm going to buy the new one, and then it's like, it's a matchup. Which one gets to stay in the collection?
I know. Okay.
Nice.
Very nice.
My number 2, you already mentioned pretty high on the list. This is one that I've got on the way that I just, I want more games in my collection that fill this nice medium band, but that I want to play over and over again. A lot of times I get these medium games that I like, but it's like I'm kind of done with
his life always playing them.
It's a tricky it's just a tricky band in the collection to find my favorites in. But Planet Unknown is one that I think combines a number of things that I'm a big fan of. We like spatial, tight, Tetris-y puzzling. We like the simultaneous turns and the fact that it allows you to play it up to 6 players and not have a lot of downtime. You add in that it's got a lot of this kind of moving up on tracks and getting upgrades and having that interact with what you're doing on the board. And then kind of a cherry on top is just the huge variability in the different planets and how you match them up with those boards. And so you're always getting a different combination kind of abilities and things. And you even, I think, get these like kind of little tech things that can give you abilities throughout the game. So you're just really got a lot of things that can differentiate play sessions. So on paper, this just looks like a home run for me. And so we'll see.
I know it's funny. Like and this is kind of egregious to say, but like in my mind, I almost feel like it could be as maybe not quite, but like as much of a hit as like a Quacks, like a game that we just.
You're going to need it to be people that like working on a little puzzle, which is like maybe a little bit like some people that just isn't as much their thing.
Right.
But yeah, and it looks great, and like it's got kind of the wow factor with the lazy Susan thing of you rotate, the active player rotates it to pick what they want, but then everybody else gets to pick one of the pieces that's currently facing them, and that's just a cool. It's like a gimmick, but it's a very functional. Like it accomplishes.
Yeah,
it helps the game work better. So yeah, I'm excited to try it. I have it with the new Super Moon expansion thing that came with it, which, maybe goes against my advice I tend to get of like, don't get the expansion.
You always tell me that.
Before you even play the game. But this was one that maybe it's just my level of confidence that I think I'm going to like it.
No,
and
you're just irresponsible.
And the fact that I'm irresponsible and the fact that I love the variability in it, and that only adds more variability. But hopefully this is one of the most delayed, I think, of... Let's just say originally I was supposed to have this like in April or something. I don't know. The joys.
Don't you love it?
But looking forward to trying this one soon.
Yeah. Very nice. My number one, Ryan already mentioned, except egregiously low. My goodness, Ryan. That was really upsetting. Yeah, so this is a follow-up to one of my favorite board games, and when you take the fact that, I mentioned this already, I sold it already, which is kind of insane when you think about it. I sold it was in like my top 5, wasn't it?
You predisposed yourself now to like convince yourself that you like the new one.
I have to like this, otherwise I'm just going to cry.
I think Nemesis was like your number 3 or something.
This was a really bad decision now that I think about it. But Nemesis Retaliation, Ryan, I love Nemesis so much. It delivers the most just fun thematic feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm in a ship with these huge aliens. Now, one thing that will be interesting is this one you are a little stronger than, which is gonna be a different feel. The original game is like you are literally just terrified as you're like going anywhere. So you're a little bit stronger, but man, the changes just look so great. I know we've said it, but the variable map, not only is it just awesome from a like, oh, the map's, different each game, like that's cool, but thematically it's awesome because now rather than dropping in, and I know you didn't know where the rooms necessarily were, but you knew the whole layout and you knew the control room was here. You knew so you knew a lot, where now it's truly like you are going in and you don't know what you're going to get into. You don't know if you're going to hit a dead end. You don't know if 2 branching paths are going to meet up again. I just think thematically that's going to add to that experience of exploring,
just the stories
discovery,
that come out of how that unfolds. It did always crack me up in the original Nemesis. It was like one of these like thematic disconnects for me was like, what do you mean we don't know where half the things are on this ship? Because like you randomize the rules. It's like you'd think even if an alien's here, we would like know our ship.
Yeah, they also brainwashed us. So it was actually the guy who's just dead in the start room. He was the only one who knew.
He was the only one. That's why you don't have a single point of failure.
I know, you need to share the information, folks. But I don't know, just watching the videos and seeing the things they changed, I would be shocked if I don't love this more. Like it really, I just think this is the Nemesis experience that I'm gonna want to have and play for years to come. So, they also did some interesting change with because the objective cards. In the original game, it was you. As soon as the first alien comes out, you basically have to commit which one. Which sometimes that happens like really fast. Like you're like, oh my gosh, almost nothing's happened, and now I'm having to decide better commit. Whereas the new one, it's interesting because it's like
I think it's a
you
choice.
you can hold you can hold longer, but there's incentive to commit earlier.
Yeah.
It says
exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly how they play that out, but I thought that was a really nice change because because there were a few times in Nemesis where I'm like, okay, well, I have no idea which one of these is better, so I'll just pick one. Versus now, it's like, okay, maybe I don't know yet. Maybe I'll hold, but I do really want to try to commit at some point. I think I thought that was a really interesting change too. So I'm pumped. Here we go.
Pumped. Yep, we'll see. My number one is a game that has been on my radar since
you were born.
Almost since we first got into the hobby, probably like 2010, when the original edition came out. This was always something that I always was intrigued by it, but it was always like, man, it's like really kind of a chaotic game, which isn't necessarily
I have truly no idea
what I am drawn to. But it is a game that, like I said with Hansa Teutonica, there's some of these games that kind of prove their longevity. People still talking about it, getting new editions. And there is now a new edition of Innovation coming out, specifically Innovation Ultimate.
This is your number one.
That I think it's my number one because I'm just so intrigued to experience it. Like I've looked into it so much over the years, and it's such a fascinating thing of this card game of civilization building where it's just like there's this chaos factor to it of like you can play a card that just completely flips the game state, but it's this interesting tactical play within that environment. And just it's one of those games where you can just keep uncovering crazy new combinations and situations, which I could just see being very exciting for this type of game that maybe is in a category like a Race for the Galaxy or I don't know, Res Arcana, some of these more kind of card-driven games that maybe I'm more likely to play with two players. I'm just so intrigued by it.
Wow.
And it's very different from games I have. I've always wanted to know if I'm going to like it. The new edition, they've done a really good job with. It looks great.
Yeah. Holy cow.
And it's also an easier one for me probably to get played multiple times than some of the other ones on my list. So I know like once I get it, I can, get it played.
I did not know you were that excited for that one.
I'm pretty excited to try it. I just really am curious.
When's that one coming?
It's a fascinating design. Hopefully in the next few months.
As you can tell, Ryan loves this model of getting board games.
Well, here's the thing, and I'll talk about this probably in another video, but a lot of my strategy with when I back some of these was like, oh, great, they'll come like away from December because December is my birthday and Christmas. I usually get games. I'm like, I don't like getting too many games at the same time because I like to give each attention and enjoy. Well, it's less about like the responsibility side, but more of like you enjoy a game more. Yeah. When like that's the new fun thing to try or whatever. And lo and behold, everything gets delayed, and now like everything's delivering like now.
So you need to account for that next time, Ryan.
I know.
Back the ones that are coming in December.
Everything will be 6 months late.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm pretty pumped for it. I'm just like hoping that it's what I want it to be, because then I can just see getting to explore kind of the expansion content and just replaying it, and just this card game that's quick. We're talking like 30 minutes or less for as you kind of know it well, but you go in every time with the like, what's gonna happen? What crazy combo am I gonna get this time? Yeah. And like, oh my gosh, you just reversed it and like crushed everything I have, but like I know I'm still in it because I might find something. I'm just really intrigued by it.
Ryan's intrigued.
So
very fun.
And yeah, it's similar to Food Chain Magnate. Honestly, it's like this one that's like, man, it's like a decade of like considering and almost pulling the trigger on this game that I feel like I finally am going to get to try. So
very nice.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you've played any of these games, let us know down below what your thoughts are on it. Obviously, we're kind of excited about, don't kill all of our excitement. We'd like to be excited about games, but if you have any input on them as far as your experiences with them, we would love to hear them. We got some other videos here you could check out as well. We will see you in the next one.